Hey everyone, Greta here. Today we are going to talk about the position of our back toes in the standing shapes. If you have been practicing with several different teachers that are coming from different backgrounds, then I'm sure that when you do your standing shapes, then you would have encountered different alignment cues for the back toes. And the poses that I'm referring to are like the asymmetrical ones, like Warrior One, the pyramid or intense side stretch, whatever name that you like to call it, the twisted triangle. Okay, so the shapes that requires the back foot to be planted on the floor. Some would have the alignment cue of heel to heel, so the heel of the front foot matching or aligning to the heel of the back foot, and other it would be the heel to the inner arch of the back foot. Okay, and sometimes is the back toes. Some are pointing to a 90-degree angle right out to the side. Some are more of a 45 and all that stuff. So which is correct? What should you do? So before we drill onto the details, I thought it would be good to just take a step back and talk about the position of the hips. You might be like, what are you talking about? Like, we're referring to the toes. Why you suddenly talk about the hips? Well, that's because all these Warrior Ones, twisted triangles, the pyramid, all require the hip to be facing front. Okay? Unlike Warrior Two and triangle pose where the hips would turn to the side, okay? All those that I just mentioned before, hips facing more like a 12 o'clock direction. So if we have this in mind with the pelvis shifting towards a 12 o'clock direction, then we can talk about the toes. So the more singular plane that your 2 feet are located, i.e. the front heel aligning to the inner arch of the back foot, and also the toes turning out to the side as in a 90-degree angle, then it will require more of your hip mobility in order to have the hips facing front. So the more the feet are wider apart, i.e. front heel to back heel alignment, or maybe to some other extent you have the feet a little bit more than heel to heel alignment, then it will be more gentle to the hips. And also the position of the toes as well. If the back toes are pointing more towards a 12 o'clock direction rather than a 9 o'clock in this case, then it's easier for the hips to face the front. And that's because, with the position of the toes, we also have the ankle and the knee joint as well, which is supporting the hip joint. So if we turn your toes out too far out, then if we pull the hips towards facing the front, if the hips are not there yet, if the hips are not yet open, then the knee would take in the load and also maybe the ankle. So sometimes if you have this alignment with the toes facing out to the side, like a 90-degree angle, you might see people with the back toes peeling away. And sometimes that would create a bit of tension in the knee as well. Other people, even if the back toes could actually plant down, firmly down to the floor, because the hips are not open enough, then the knee might feel a bit of a torque. So am I saying that, the heel to inner arch alignment with the toes out to the side at a 90-degree angle is completely wrong? No. I'm simply saying that the different alignment cues work for different bodies. Okay? There are a lot of different methods that have different alignment cues, so that's why you would have one teacher telling you one thing, other people telling you something else. So when it comes to me, if you practice with me in Ashtanga, you might have stricter rules, but if you come to my other classes like Hatha, Yoga Therapy, Vinyasa, all those other classes, my cue would be just make sure that your hips feel like they're facing 12 o'clock. Whether the back toes are more towards the front or to the side, whether it's heel to inner arch, or feet a little bit wider apart than heel to heel, then those you make on your own. Okay, just make sure that when you're in shape like Warrior One or intense side stretch, whatever, you feel the hips are facing towards a 12 o'clock direction and not out to the side. Just a gentle reminder, there are a lot of different methods out there, different styles of practices out there, because those styles are developed based on a certain type of bodies. Okay. Originally, there were fewer styles because fewer people practice yoga, and then eventually it evolved to more and more people, different body types, different physical backgrounds and all that, and that is why different styles would develop, and that is why they would have their own set of alignment cues. The next time when you step into a yoga class and the teacher gives you a set of alignment cues that are different from what you normally practice, I would suggest you to give it a try and just see how that works. Let's say the back toes, if you're not used to having the back toes turned out 90 degrees, and if the teacher gives you that cue, try it and see. If it works for you, great, you have another way of practicing. And if it doesn't work for you, that's also great. You have another chance of knowing your body a little bit better, and then readjust it. Make sure that when you are in the shapes, like let's say the style, the category that we're talking about, the joints don't hurt, the knee feels fine, the ankle doesn't feel like it's gonna snap, all those stuff, And then bear in mind that, okay, those shapes, the hips need to face the front. How would you readjust that? And if you're doing something different than what the teacher tells you to do, let's say the teacher tells you to set the back toes at 90-degree angle, you tried it, it doesn't work for you, you adjust it to something that works, and they come to you and ask you to do it their way, explain to them why it doesn't work. Okay, let's see if they could help you to find to make your body feel better in that kind of alignment that they want you to do. If they can, great. If they cannot, and they still insist you to do it their way, don't go back. Don't go back to the class, it's not worth it. Because, at least for my ultimate goal, after the practice, I want to feel better. I don't want to feel worse. And I don't want to feel that I'm being forced to do anything that doesn't feel right for my body and doesn't feel right for my mind. Okay? So that's my 2 cents. Hope it helps. And I'll see you again soon. Take it easy.